All right, so hi, Mark here, February 21st, after the second ayahuasca ceremony. Lot different than the first. Way more intense and challenging, and it hit me hard and fast with the intensity. Started with body first, but then the whole fractal psychedelics were coming in, and I had to work really hard to maintain my objectivity, and there was a strange. It's late at night. You're tired, and you're just this fractal world that is infinitely complex and intricate is producing itself in front of your eyes, whether your eyes are open or closed, and to stay an objective observer and not get completely swept away in all of that it was a challenge, and I, because my mind was tired, my attention, I found it very difficult to hold my attention still and meditate through that. My mind kept sinking, and so there was some frustration there. I wanted to go deeper. I wanted to sort of hold the line, but the fact that there was a body there, a brain there that was just dog-tired, sick, and then under the influence of this powerful medicine, difficult challenge. But I felt really good in that I didn't let it take me away. I invited the ayahuasca to be a partner with me in all of that, and to share, in a partnership, show me things I needed to see. But it just kept the strength, the intensity of the dose. It just kept overpowering me until I was just sort of fed up with it. And then with the power of my own mind, I just shut it down. I was just like, if you're not going to play nicely, you're done. And so I shut down the psychedelics through an act of will, which was kind of a teaching in itself. Kind of like I can imagine at the time when I die and I'm in the bardo and things are appearing to me, I know that I can hold my mental clarity and that I have a very strong mind, which felt very good to me. And, I am a survivor of trauma, and when things don't feel safe, it's not okay for me. And and what I want is I want to learn and to be shown and have things revealed to me, which I could see happening. But I don't want to be forced into capitulating. There was some talk about, afterwards about, issues with control and surrender. And I understand, the balance that a person wants to strike, in letting themselves be taken into an experience, but at the very same time, if it doesn't feel safe and I feel like I'm going to lose myself, it wasn't okay for me. And so I set a boundary, and the result of setting that boundary is that I woke up with extreme sense of my own strength as a man and as a meditator. I'm not saying that there aren't things I need to learn or that I'm enlightened, but I understand how the mind works, and I understand how to work my mind, and I have some strength, and I'm able to exercise my influence over what happens in my mental continuum. So all that said, after I sort of shut it down, there's still, hours left of body sensations and much more muted visions. And what I did with that was I which was different than the first night. The first night I actually put earplugs in so I could have a much more internal experience. There's music, songs they call Icaros, and then the first night I just wanted to be in my own internal experience mostly. But last night I was happy to experience the communal nature of the ceremony, and and the mastery of both Richard and Serena in terms of their capacity to sing and orchestrate the ceremony, play various instruments was just beautiful. Then it sort of comes in waves. There were moments where I felt like I might purge, and this is different than the night before, because the purging felt more excuse me, the purging felt more like upset stomach, versus the night before it felt more like seasickness. But I didn't. My heart was pounding, and that didn't happen the first night. But I just watched that, and I asked for some healing around that, and Richard, had some sort of polished stone that, he massaged into me very vigorously, and he adjusted my spine, and that felt, really good. And I still have some work to do there. It's not like that the energetics of my heart just cleared up. And another thing that I'm remembering now is that I got really clear on age is not the time you've spent on Earth. It's how you think about the time you've spent on Earth. And so I'm going to take Ellen Langer's theory, and I'm going to pretend or just live as if I'm 35, and I'm just going to take 20 years right off the top and invigorate my body that way. So I'm going to start. If anybody asks, I'm going to say I'm 35, and let them deal with the fallout, whatever they think. And much less emotional. I didn't cry once, but I was really tuned into my relationship with my wife, and I see where I need to show up, own my masculinity and my strength, but that also, that strength, the way it's going to show up is it's not going to show up angry, it's going to show up gentle, because you have to be a lot stronger to handle your feelings by being mindful and gentle. But I will say my strength is going to manifest in the way that I speak about myself, and I encourage, Linda and Alana to speak about themselves, and because it's very clear to me that what we say makes a huge difference. I also had, when I was battling the the fractals. It was kind of dark night of the soul-ish in the sense that I was watching how I was progressing on the stages of insight, and it was so interesting to see mind body so clearly distinct. And so there's mind, there's body, and then there's this will that is sort of outside in another dimension, and this will that carries the I am is wiggling the fingers and toes of a body. And I stopped taking it for granted that, when you want the body to move, that it doesn't, that desire doesn't originate in the body. It is just so incredible that the will is actually outside the body, and the body is picking up because it's intimately connected. Like what's really weird is there's no physical space in between this will and the body, but again the will isn't in the body, and it's impossible to understand unless you experience it. I got to this place of sort of utter disgust for the gross sensory experience that just keeps repeating itself over and over and over. This fractal repetition. And wasn't able to work all the way through that to get to, deep equanimity and, first glimpse of nirvana, nothing like that. But I do understand when monks have the feeling of wanting to renounce the world. So I was there a couple of times last night too, which is a progression for me. And okay, so that. Oh, then I had a dream about my mom, and this was sort of after things calmed down and the first time I slept. So I'm in a house. I'm upstairs. I've got a small, what looks like a shot glass, maybe a plastic shot glass of what looks like brown liquid, exactly what ayahuasca looks like, but I say, and I believe that it's cyanide, and so I drink it down, and I walk downstairs, and I tell my mom, I've taken the cyanide, Mom, and then I also have the thought, don't worry, and then as I look around, as I get to the bottom of the stairs, I look around, this sort of brown liquid is spilled all over the floor. So interesting thoughts about that, symbolic death and into the unconscious and all that. Anyway, those are the high points. That was ayahuasca number 2. In the middle of the battling of the fractals, when it just felt like tripping, and I ultimately shut it down because it felt like it was dragging me along and didn't feel safe, I was thinking, I'll never do this again. And I'm still ambivalent because, my progress on the meditation cushion gives me this understanding. It's just that, my being a householder and as busy as I am, progress isn't as fast. And so this experience certainly is a spiritual accelerator. And I would encourage Linda to do it, and if she did it, I'd like to be there with her and do that with her. And anyway, we'll see if we do it again, but that was ayahuasca number 2. All right.